What up, this is Rama Screen covering movies, TV, and entertainment, and here's my review of Netflix's new documentary series, Jeffrey Epstein, Filthy Rich. Hey, before you watch my review, please subscribe to my channel, press that like button, and ring that bell so you can get notified whenever I post new videos. And if you would like to help support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. That's patreon.com/ramascreen. Let's rock this. First up, I would like to say thank you to Netflix for granting me the screeners to this entire new Docu series. Oh boy, I gotta tell you, this documentary makes me so angry. Oh, not at the docu itself, but at what it points out, at the fact that wealthy, powerful people can just buy our criminal justice system and treat it like their own personal toy. I'm also pissed off at the fact that Jeffrey Epstein took the easy way out, and thus his victims never got the justice that they deserve. And you'll get boiling mad knowing that Epstein's co-conspirators are still out there somewhere instead of rotting behind bars. Of all the things that this well-researched documentary brings up, at the heart of it is a painful reminder that our own society, especially our representatives who have the power to do the right thing, they purposely fail to protect those who are vulnerable and marginalized among us. Well, that should be more than enough to put us to shame. Produced by Radical Media and James Patterson Entertainment Production in association with Third Eye Motion Picture Company, and executive produced by Joe Berlinger and directed and executive produced by Lisa Bryant, Jeffrey Epstein Filthy Rich takes a closer look at one of the most infamous sex traffickers in modern history. Leading up to his 2019 arrest, the exceptionally rich, mysterious tycoon Jeffrey Epstein was accused of abusing women and underage girls for decades, assembling a network of enablers to help carry out and cover up his crimes. Epstein come from humble beginnings, yet managed to manipulate his way to the top of the financial world. He ultimately gained tremendous wealth and power while running an international sex trafficking ring. He even made a secret plea deal with the government to avoid actual life sentence, and afterwards, he continued to abuse women. In this 4-part docuseries, Jeffrey's victims give their frightening first-hand accounts. They are making their voices heard by revealing their emotional scars, some for the very first time. The Sisterhood of Survivors intend to stop predators like Jeffrey and the American justice system from silencing the next generation. The creative talents behind this project are an interesting cocktail mix. You have director-producer Lisa Bryant, who in the past has made several murder mystery documentaries like The Killing of Jessica Chambers, for example. And then you have executive producer Joe Berlinger, who gave us that Netflix docu, The Ted Bundy Tapes. And then bam, you have James Patterson, that's right, the author who penned all those Alex Cross novels. Turns out James Patterson had been a resident in Palm Beach, Florida for a while, and that is one of the regions in which Jeffrey Epstein had his properties. And so Patterson shows up every once in a while as one of the talking heads featured on this docu, giving you the perspective of a neighbor, if you will, or the perspective of someone who lived in the same vicinity as Epstein. Yes, there's an episode that lets you in on how Jeffrey Epstein made his money on Wall Street. Yes, there's an episode that focuses on that corrupt U.S. attorney Alex Acosta who gave Jeffrey Epstein that sweetheart deal. And yes, there's an episode about Jeffrey Epstein's private island and the who's who famous celebs and politicians that he often brought there. But the underlying string that connects all these episodes are the testimonies by Jeffrey Epstein's victims. And that's why this documentary is incredibly tough to watch, while it doesn't have any sort of reenactments, thankfully. But the way the women describe what happened is so detailed and vivid, your heart immediately breaks for them. Unlike other documentaries about other public figures, that would probably present all sides or differing opinions about said person, well, that's not what Jeffrey Epstein Filthy Rich aims to do. This docu mostly serves as a sounding board for those brave women who will stop at nothing until their voices are heard. When you watch this documentary, your jaw will drop at the extent of Jeffrey Epstein's wickedness. Not only what he did to those poor women, but he basically hung leverage over other influential people. So if he couldn't buy them out, he would blackmail them, which is why he was always cocky about getting away with things. He was so evil. He was like a nemesis out of the comic pages. Hell, even a Bond villain could not top Jeffrey's level of cunning manipulation and deceit. This is like a character straight out of a movie, man, which I'm sure Hollywood is itching to make a Jeffrey Epstein biopic someday. I'm not saying all those as a point of admiration, no. I'm simply stating that here's a guy who, because he had more money than God, everybody around him, including law enforcement, bow down to his sociopathic desires. It is a shame that he took his secrets to the grave before we, the world, get to find out all the names on his black book. If there is one criticism that I have about this documentary, is episode 4 specifically. I think it's missing some crucial elements like the good work of Miami Herald, who exposed the perversion of justice by U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta in Florida. You see, there's a span of about a decade after Epstein finished that sham jail sentence until he finally gets arrested for real this time by the Southern District of New York. So within that decade, within those 10 years, he was back doing his evil stuff again. And it would have continued had it not been for the great reporting work of those investigative journalists who put Epstein to a screeching halt. I think this docu kind of touches on that just a little bit, but maybe I think they should have recognized and acknowledged those reporters' contributions further. Other than that, like I implied earlier, this docuseries does a fine job of being a platform on which these survivors can tell the world their stories. And I hope it doesn't end with Epstein's death, because if there could someday be a sequel docu about how they ultimately bring down Epstein's co-conspirators, then that would be the satisfying conclusion that everybody wants.